Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Ultimate Music Lover album reviews, unboxings, etc. Back with another video. I'm going to be doing an album review and an unboxing today. I'm in a different kind of setting. I'm not in my room on campus, so I'm not going to be able to have the LP in my hands. But I do have the CD with me. But today, we're going to be unboxing the Holy Grail. I am very excited to open this thing up and check it out. And if you haven't seen the title of the video yet, well, you're about to see exactly what I'm talking about, because this cassette was not cheap, but this has become one of my favorite all-time albums of 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a price tag on it, but that's cool. Introducing Tool's Lateralus on cassette. That is right. Yes, I did spend this much money on Discogs to get this incredible album on cassette. Now, you might be thinking that's pretty darn ridiculous, but as far as I'm concerned, there are only... Trying to think here. There are only currently of US copies, there are only 10 left for sale on the market currently. And they all range from as cheap as like $68 for just the tape to like around $100 for both the inner sleeve and the tape, and then up to like $150 and then maybe like 200 plus brand new sealed. So there's only 10 copies left of this incredible album on the market. You got the track listing on the back, and then info about like Dolby B licensing and all the typical stuff you'd get with cassettes. Let's take a look. So thank goodness that this seller rewound it to side A. Good. I like when cassettes, especially if I'm spending this much money, I like when cassettes are completely rewound at the beginning of the album and none of the tape is being exposed. That means it was taken well good care of. As you can see, there is some wear from like sliding in and out of like a cassette deck, which is typical. This album must have been listened to a lot, and it's about to be listened to a lot more. But yeah, dude, that's the cassette. Let's take a look at the inlay. There is some wear. It's not too bad. I just got to be careful and not carry it around in my pocket all the time. So as you can see, you got what I like to call on this album the human anatomy concept on the front. Then you got the Lateralus spiral with the flaming eyeball. Then you got transformed being. Then you got the Lateralus eye spiral with the lightened up hand. Then you got what would be enlightened being on like the CD cover, for example. Then you got what people like to call Muscle Man. You got all your credits, and then you got Muscle Man all the way back here. So starting from the back of the booklet, it goes through the whole transformation of boom, 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 boom. Very cool artwork, and there's definitely, it separates the different sections. Like, I do have the CD right here with the slipcase. One thing to note about the CD booklet is all these different sections are together in like different pages, which is pretty cool. But then when you look at, again, the cassette artwork, you get each and every single one of these like split up individually, so you get more of like a sense of each individual picture, which I personally kind of like. This definitely is like the best CD packaging I've ever owned for a CD so far, but like I do like the way that the cassette artwork kind of splits these up individually. So yeah, dude. So yeah, you're looking at the CD. I have two versions of the LP at home. I have a 2020 pressing and a 2022 pressing. Both of them honestly sound pretty good, but I am looking forward to putting the cassette in my Sony WM-FS499 Sports Walkman, which I'm about to right now. I'm not going to listen to it yet, but I am going to leave it in there, and I'm going to take a listen because I'm very excited to hear what this album sounds like on tape. Now, also in this video, I'm going to talk pretty briefly. I'm going to go as fast as I can here, but you've all been waiting for an album review, so you have an album review now. So let's talk about Lateralus. I've heard all 5 albums. I still have to listen to 10,000 Days and Fear Inoculum more because, you know, they're not the most popular albums, and I need time for them to grow on me because I haven't listened to them that much. But I sure do love the first 3 albums, Undertow, Enema, and Lateralus. Now, out of those 3, Undertow would be put in third. It's a great debut, great way to open up the sound, but the band didn't really find their sound until they hit Enema, which is my second favorite Tool album. The way the production of that, the way that it's got like this raw, muddy production to it, kind of adds some charm to the overall like album, I guess. Enema's real good. My favorites off Enema would probably be, obviously 46 and 2. Third Eye is really good. It's a really good 13-minute prog masterpiece, prog metal masterpiece. And then I'd have to say the title track and Stinkfist. Enema's got good songs on it. I don't necessarily have anything to comment about what like any of the albums lacked. I think the production mainly was the only thing that Enema lacked, but there was a reason that Enema was produced the way it was, and so I completely respect it and embrace it for the way it was produced. But we'll get to other albums later. For now, I'm gonna talk about Lateralus because this is my personal favorite. So to have it on CD, LP, and cassette, spending a total of probably $200 for 2 copies of vinyl, the CD, and the tape. I discovered this album back in January, which is really like, it's the beginning of a new musical journey, right? I was like, I need to listen to some new music I've been trying to get into forever. And I've heard Schism before, but then I had to go back and listen to the whole thing. This album is just a spiritual experience all the way through. From the opener, The Grudge, all the way to Thyapti to Oyad, which translates to Voice of God. I can't remember what language. But let's do a quick track-by-track analysis. So starting with The Grudge. The album opens up with what sounds like a thematic opening. You hear and then you got this awesome guitar riff that just starts like I think that the time signature is either 5/8. It's either 2 measures of 5/8 at a time, or it's some form of 3, like it could be 3/8, split up into triplets. I don't know, but their compositions are definitely like very, like if you want to dive into music theory, I'm currently learning music theory, so if you really want to like dive into it, then like, or you've done a deep dive analysis, let me know what's up. Anyway, so The Grudge, well, the lyrics behind this entire song talk about, you know, anything that's bugging you or anything that you might be up against is just holding you down. And from what another YouTuber said, Saturn is a main theme in the song because roughly every 29 years, Saturn would end up somewhat in the same position as what you were first born. So you're either, when Saturn comes back around again, it either lifts you up and spits you out like a child, light and innocent, or it drags you down like a stone, which is very accurate because some people every 29 years either feel like they're being reborn spiritually or that they're in a crud and that they messed up and that's like a pinnacle failing point in their life. So the whole idea of this song, if you follow that concept of like Saturn coming back around could be the best or worst thing that happens in your life, it could come to a sense of, okay, it's going to drag me down like a stone until I choose to let go of whatever negativity I'm holding. And so at the end of the song, the character just decides he's letting go. He's not going to deal with it anymore. Then we move on to track 2, Eon Blue Apocalypse. This is just a very short interlude. This was written after the guitarist's dog. I already have to look here. I think it's Justin or Adam Jones. I forgot already. Dang it. I think it's Adam Jones's dog. It could be Justin Chancellor's. No, Justin Chancellor's the bass. Adam Jones is the guitarist. So it's written after Adam Jones's dog, Eon Blue. If I remember right, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, leave a comment. Anyway, so the dog's name was Eon Blue, and Eon Blue passed away. So this is just a short little interlude. I think it was written by Adam Jones because it's just guitar. Then that goes into The Patient. And The Patient is another song that talks about Maynard's mother, Judith, being paralyzed when Maynard was a really young age. He was 11 years old when she was paralyzed. And so he writes about the struggle that she went through of not being able to do anything for like 30 years of her life before she passed away. And this is a common theme in a lot of Maynard's music. Like, if you go back to the first album, Undertow, it doesn't connect, really. It might to some extent, but it doesn't, because it's about something completely different. But like, take Prison Sex, for example. If Jimmy off Enema is supposed to be the sequel to Prison Sex, but at the same time, Jimmy, they say, is like, it's talking about how when Maynard was 11 years old, how he couldn't comprehend the fact that his mother was paralyzed. So if you view Jimmy from that viewpoint, from like the Maynard being 11 years old then, and not knowing what was happening to his mother, then you can apply it to The Patient in Lateralus, which is like the part 2 of Jimmy, I guess. I don't know. This could be a part 3 of a 3-part series, because freaking Maynard, when he started A Perfect Circle and released the debut album Murd and Oms, there's a song called Judith that's totally about his mother having all of her faith in God, and then still dying despite doing everything correctly. So it kind of just connects in a way. It's a much more subtle Judith song, I guess you could say. But The Patient could also just be about like you choosing to be there and give your all, even when you've already given everything. So it could have 2 double meanings to it, but it was intended for Maynard's mother Judith. Then you got the 4th track, Mantra, which is Maynard James Keenan gently squeezing his cat, which is kind of weird. Apparently he gently squeezed his cat until his cat made a sound, and then he reverbed it and slowed it down and reversed the recording. So you just get this weird like some like spiritual voices are calling effect, you know? It's a perfect intro into Schism, I think, because we all know what Schism is about. Well, Schism originally was supposed to be about the conflict that Maynard and Adam Jones were having between each other, like for songwriting reasons, like they were clashing hard. But then they changed the lyrics up to make it more broad, to talk about when relationships tend to fall apart, like what happens if they do. But this song has a glimmer of hope at the end, because the character knows that the pieces fit. So even after all the doubt and confusion that they've been through, they decide, you know what? I'm going to lift myself up. And so they go, bam, there we go. I know the pieces fit. We're going to make this work out. Then you get to track 6, which is Parable. Parable is spelled P-A-R-A-B-O-L, and it's a spin-off of the word parable, which is P-A-R-A-B-L-E. This is the precursor to Parabola. And so Parable is basically just the character going, this place is so familiar, it's so warm. Like I've known this place, I've been here before, and being in my body, all this pain I'm feeling is an illusion, and I know I'm not alone. And then that goes into track 7, which is Parabola. Parable and Parabola are probably my favorite tracks off the album because Parabola is admitting that you have one life and that this experience is so amazing, and you should celebrate the chance to be alive and breathing in this holy reality and experience, because rather than choosing to leave it. So this is literally Maynard just telling everyone, all of his fans, like, hey, whatever you're going through, you should just, you belong here. You deserve to be here. This is a holy and lovely experience. I promise you, it's worth it. Then you get into track 8, which is Ticks and Leeches. Ticks and Leashes is, it's Maynard slapping record executives in the face saying, oh, you want a hard rock hit? We'll give you a hard rock hit. And so for 3 minutes, they do nothing but jam. And then they put this 3-minute slow interlude to ensure that it never gets played on the radio. They're like, there you go. It's a hard rock hit, right? You know what I mean? Because Maynard was upset at the fact that record labels were reducing the artist's creativity. And so he said, you know what, we're just going to do this. So we're going to give you this 3-minute segment. Then we're going to put this in so you don't play it on the radio. And then we're going to slap you in the face and say, is this what you wanted? Is this what you had in mind? Is this what you wanted? Because this is what you're getting. And even though he tells them at the beginning to suck him dry, at the end of the song, he's saying that they hope that they choke on all the greed that they've stole from artists. Like all the creativity they stole from artists and all the greed and money that they've made from artists' creativity. Then that goes into track 9, which I forgot to explain, by the way. On the cassette, the only pressing on cassette, the US pressing, has Lateralus spelt wrong. It's spelled Lateris instead of the original spelling. Just thought I would share that. Anyway, so now you got track 9, which is Lateralus. They probably, from research I've done so far, they probably spent the most time on this particular track because, well, people say that it's based on the Fibonacci spiral, the sequence of numbers where like 1 is 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 5, you know, because 987 is a Fibonacci number. And what's funny is that the song alternates between the time signatures 9, 8, 8, 8, and 7, 8. And I don't know if they were intending to do that on purpose, but they were definitely intending to elongate the track and write it for as long as they could make it pleasable to the people that were buying the record, but also to fill up space that was available on the CD. So Lateralus, again, is just another one of those tracks like Parable and Parabola where Maynard basically says you should just embrace the randomness in life and everything that gets thrown at you. And honestly, if anything, you should embrace that randomness and you should just keep going out to where no one has probably gone before and just keep exploring the world and all the ideas that live here. So it's just like another spiritual like awakening for the character. Then you get into what all of us Tool fans like to call the Holy Trinity: disposition, reflection, and triad. Disposition is the opener. You only hear 2 lines of lyrics through the whole song, which is mention this to me, watch the weather change. And the idea is that you can easily influence someone else's perspective by just talking to them. You can say one thing to them or one phrase or one sentence that could probably change their complete course of life forever. And so this whole disposition is like deciding who to listen to and what to do, like what path of life should I take. Then, after about 4.5 minutes, that goes into track number 11, which is reflection. And reflection is 11 minutes of just progressing and building. And throughout the whole course of this song, the character is reflecting on everything that they've been told and is deciding for himself, okay, well, I'm going to choose to go down this road or this road. Then you get into triad, which is basically like the celebration, right? Triad is like, yay, I'm happy with my life choices. And you hear the word spiral in the background, even though it's an instrumental. You hear Maynard going, spiral. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but it sounds like he's saying spiral. So it's basically the character's inner voice saying, keep exploring, keep going, don't ever stop. And then, I don't know about on the cassette, but on the CD, when you get to the end of triad, you have about roughly 2.5 minutes of silence. And then the final track is Faib de Oyad. So the translation, as said earlier, is voice of God. I can't remember what language. And you got Danny's drumming in the background, while over top of that is a radio broadcast of it's a news station, Radio 1 broadcast. I can't remember who the host was. But basically, this guy comes on, and he confirmed later it was a hoax. But when they first started talking, they're like, they claimed to be a government worker for Area 51, and they're like, so what we like to call as aliens or extra-dimensional beings or whatever, well, they're not what they claim to be. And the government knows the disasters that are coming, and they want the population wiped out so that the few that are left can be easily controlled. You know, he goes through this whole speech on this phone call. But the funny thing is, after like 3 minutes of this call, originally, what you hear at the end when it sounds like it cuts out, that actually happened in real life. The satellites cut out, and everyone around the world thought, oh no, aliens are coming and we're gonna die, right? So it like shocked everyone, all news stations around the entire country. So I don't know why they chose to name the track Faib de Oyad, Voice of God, to begin with. But if I had to guess, it's just for kicks to end the album. I've listened to this album in like 3 different ways. Like, I've been looking at posts on YouTube, and when I first had the picture disc vinyl, I was listening to I was starting with side D, and then I was starting like side A, then D, then C, then B. You know, I was like experimenting with different ways to listen to the album. I think I cracked the code and know the best. Like, if you want to mix the tracks around, I'll give you the order real quick. If you want to mix tracks around and listen to the album in a completely different track order, I would recommend listening to the album in this order, which is you start with the Holy Trinity, disposition, reflection, and triad, then ticks and leeches, because that's when the anger is coming out of the character. Then you got Faib de Oyad, because that's when the character hears the voice of God and then decides, okay, I have to let this go, which would then be followed by the grudge. Then Eon Blue, then the Patient, then Mantra, then Schism, then Lateralus, then Parable and Parabola. So I'll go ahead and say that order one more time in case you missed it. So the order that I would suggest is disposition, reflection, triad, ticks and leeches, Faib de Oyad, the grudge, Eon Blue Apocalypse, the Patient, Mantra, Schism, Lateralus, Parable, and Parabola. Not that the original track listing is amazing, because it is, but that's just if you want another insight on the album. I also have a Reddit post that I'll link down below where I go into a whole explanation, a whole story I came up with based on the track listing. It's pretty cool. But yep, there's an album review. I'll be coming back with more albums. At some point, I'm going to review every System of a Down album, even though I've reviewed Toxicity. I'm going to review every System of a Down album and talk about them, just give you my thoughts. Thank you so much for watching today's unboxing of the Holy Grail, the Lateralus cassette tape. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment down below what your favorite Tool album or song off this album is, and if you own any Tool cassettes, I would love to know. And please subscribe to the channel for more music-related content. There will be a couple more unboxings coming soon, and definitely more album reviews and more musical discoveries to come. So, again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all on the flip side.